Hey everybody, greetings from the Batcave here at Castleton. I know you wish you were in this beautiful office with me, but you're not, so too bad. So here is what I want to talk about. I thought this might be easier because I have the same kind of feedback for a number of the papers that are in final draft. So first thing, thank you for getting this done more or less on time, and I know it's a big project. And I think by and large we're on the right track. But here's where I really wanted to focus some of your thinking over the course of the week. And you might read similar comments from me on your paper. If you don't see these comments on your paper, then it's like with any note, disregard it if it doesn't apply. But here's the thing that I want to make absolutely clear about this paper. That this is your opportunity to engage in a meaningful analysis and evaluation of some organization's activities as pertains in this case to entrepreneurialism. So what I really, really need to see in every single paper is this. Yes, what everybody's nailing right now, you all got the background, everything is fine. I think that you selected some really great organizations. There are some terrific stories in these papers that I'm really enjoying reading. What I want to make sure that you have in here, though, is three primary things. The first thing is when you're talking about that organization's entrepreneurial work, their activities, their initiatives, whether that is the startup of the organization itself or whether that is something that they took their existing role and mission and changed it to include more entrepreneurship or whatever, I want to be able to see that you're evaluating the success or not success or failure of those initiatives on basically from three ways. All right, so think about this. The number one thing is the organization itself. So the organization itself, how does it define what success would look like in those entrepreneurial activities? Is that part of their strategic plan? Did they change their role and mission? Did they set up some separate planning for this? So what metrics did the organization itself establish to determine whether those initiatives would be successful or not? Part of that is budget and finance, for sure. How much do those things cost? Are they bringing in additional revenue? Are they a resource drain? Those kind of things. But that's from the perspective of the organization itself. All right. So what does the organization itself say about those activities and about how they define success or failure? And then follow up to find out whether the organization itself says that they feel like those have been successful. If so, why? And how did they determine that? And if they haven't been, why? And what do they plan to do next? Or what are the next steps based on what they've learned from that? Okay, so that's number one. The number one thing is the perspective of the organization on itself. Thing number two is the perspective of somebody else looking at that organization from outside. So somebody externally looking at that from outside. Now this could be a great source that a lot of you have used are funders of that organization. When the organization itself applies for grants and they say, well, we're going to determine this and this and this and this, when they're stewarding those grants and when they're moving through and being accountable for that money, how does that external organization view the organization's activities? So did they receive that grant again, or did they not receive that grant because they didn't succeed in some way? All right. So this external organization could be a funder. It could be a corporate donor. It could be the audience members. It could be somebody like Doug Borwick writing a book and establishing a case study. But I want to see what some other organization says about your organization in terms of whether their initiatives for entrepreneurship have been successful. Again, if so, how do we define that and why have they been successful? And if not, what are the challenges that could make them successful, or do we need to do something else? All right, so the first two, the organization's viewpoint on itself, and then somebody else, some other organization or individual's viewpoint on your organization. And then the third one, and this is one that I think some of us have a hard time with because you don't want to give yourselves enough credit, oddly enough, is your view on the organization's success or failure vis-a-vis its entrepreneurial activities, all right? Because here's the thing, when we're reading these papers and you're adding these papers to academic literature, then what I want you to do is establish yourself as a credible expert on the organization that you're studying. What that does is two things. Number one, it causes you to really dive in and do the research and dig around in the weeds, get the data, quantitative and qualitative, look at these first two categories, the organization's viewpoint on itself and external organization's viewpoint on your organization. All right, and once you have those and you've articulated those in the paper itself, then what you have done is you've established yourself as a credible expert. And now the reader will look at you as a credible expert, and when they do, they want to know what you think. All right, so I want to know, based on everything that you've discovered, what your considered academic analysis and conclusions are based on what you've done about your organization's entrepreneurial activities. So your paper you might think of as being constructed in 3 big chunks. Now I know, yeah, we've got the introduction and all the stuff that I put for table of contents, but thematically think of it in the body of the paper in 3 big chunks. Number 1, what does the organization say about itself? How does it define success? How does it measure it? And all that. Number 2, over on this side, what do the external experts say about that organization? And then number 3, what do you have to say about that organization? Now you can have to say a lot. You can have a lot to say about that organization because you can look back at number 1 and say, well, for example, I think that the organization did an ineffective job of creating and crafting metrics or standards for success, or I think they did a great job at this, or maybe they set the bar too high or too low. But you can evaluate that as the independent expert that's providing this analysis. And over here, also on number 2, these external groups. What were they looking at in terms of the organization? What does that reveal? And what is your evaluation of their work relative to your organization? Okay? And then that's the body of your paper right there. The organization itself, what other people say about it, and then how you draw all that stuff together to make conclusions. Ideally, I want you to be thinking that this organization that you're studying would love to read your paper at the end. They would love to get your conclusions. They would love to see your perspective because it would really be helpful to them. Now, maybe you'll send it to them, maybe you won't, but that's what I really want to see. So hopefully this helps, and if it doesn't, then let me know. If it does and you want further guidance, then let me know. But I thought this might be easier than me sitting there trying to type a book to everybody. So again, if these notes are helpful and if you go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I need to do, or no, I haven't done that or whatever, then use them, run with them. If these comments strike you as being like, well, duh, dude, that's exactly what I've already been doing, then disregard them. Okay, so again, like when I'm directing a show, if I've got 30 people in the cast, I'm going to give some general notes. They may not apply to everybody. But be honest with yourself. If they do apply to you, then take them. So I look forward to seeing the final drafts in this, and then we'll move on to putting your portfolios together for the end of the class. And then I'm going to see you guys in like a month, which is great. Look forward to it. So anyway, that's all for me. Throw me an email. Feel free to call, whatever. We're going to finish strong. We're almost done. Couldn't possibly be happier with you guys and proud of you. So hang in there. We're getting it done. Take care. Peace out.